What's up, Bills fans? Here we are, day after the win against the Pittsburgh Steelers, albeit preseason. It was an impressive performance overall. Not there was obviously things to be a little concerned about, about, and then there was things to be wowed about. And obviously, we know what those are: the play of the quarterbacks, and particularly all of them, all this whole offseason. Castle's been steady, and we have to remember he didn't play in the second preseason game, and he hasn't gotten as many game reps in the preseason as Taylor and EJ. And I think that's because obviously the coaches feel more comfortable with him, knowing what he is, knowing that he's seen more time on the field than any of the other quarterbacks, regular season, preseason, obviously postseason. And we also have to remember that regular season wise, Tyrod's thrown the least amount of passes. He's thrown the least amount of passes, seen the least amount of game time. He's obviously the overwhelming favorite amongst Bills fandom to be the quarterback. If they had their druthers, they would pick him. And I tell you, he's definitely grown on me. He really has, and particularly his work in the pocket, the way he stood in and made throws. Started in Cleveland, he was just throwing strikes. And another thing that's really impressed me about these quarterbacks, not to be so disjointed, is just playing without a full deck most of the preseason since the first half of the first quarter of the Carolina game. No Harvin, no Watkins, no Woods out 2 games, McCoy, Fred for 2 games. So they've really been shortchanged. Granted, the offensive line has stayed healthy and whole as a unit, and we've gotten pretty solid play there from the first group, and the tight end position has stayed pretty healthy as well, so that's good. The cornerback position has been a little banged up. I'll address that later. But yeah, the play of the quarterbacks has been really, really impressive. And I did a prior video where I said I had moved on from EJ, and now I kind of have to recuse myself a little bit. I have to take a step back and say, well, maybe he is improving. I mean, from what my eyes see in these games, because I don't see the practices. I mean, I had a commenter, a viewer, comment and say, well, I just, they misunderstood. Just because I said Joe B's name didn't mean I just saw Joe B's tweet or Joe B's report and said, well, EJ's done. No, it was multiple reports from different, guys who were there every day at practice, whether it's Sal Capaccio, whether it's John Wara, whether it's Sal Marron, whether it's Joe Biscaglia, whether it's Matt Fairburn, Tyler Dunn, whoever, who's new on the beat, who's new. He's coming from Green Bay, but he's a new guy and he's there. Whoever, whether he's, it's not just one voice. It's not one person I'm using as a conduit of information. It was them, but he has been decent and good and very good and impressive in these preseason games. He has. He's gotten better. He looks more comfortable and learning a new system. He looks to be playing looser. He looks to be playing a lot more carefree, not so, held in and just letting it fly like he said he would, letting it rip. And Tyrod, too, he has a lot of zip on the ball for a guy that's the smallest quarterback on the roster. He has a really, really nice arm. And you saw once the defense kind of got lackadaisical on Pittsburgh's behalf, and they were used to him just standing back there throwing the ball. And when he ran, it was a 20-yard touchdown. They were just not in the same, not able to get up to the gear that he was, because he was gone. And it was really nice to see. And in terms of his mobility, I want him to augment his passing game with his running. I don't want his passing to have to augment his running. I want it to be him using his legs as a last resort, whether it's to get himself out of trouble and throw a ball away or get a cheap first down, or just basically when nothing's there at all, because the coverage doesn't dictate it or the rush doesn't dictate it. But yeah, he's really impressed me. And Castle's been who he's been. He's been steady. He's done nothing to, you know, wow, as the other two have, but he's done nothing to be like, oh, downtrodden about either. And he's gotten the least amount of reps in the games. And he's also gotten the most amount of practice time with the ones. And Tyrod's gotten an okay amount of time too. And that should tell us something. I mean, if to a man, you know, don't just listen to me. Go on every team's website, if you can, or like 10 teams, and they'll get the question from their beat writers, their reporters, people that cover them on a day-to-day basis, and they'll ask, what sways this decision the most? What matters the most? It's the practices. Like when Bill O'Brien made the decision between Hoyer and Mallett, he said the practices, the day-to-day, in and out of the facility, in the meeting rooms, in the practices, how they. And obviously the games matter from an individual standpoint because they're not game planning. But it was, you know, I'm not going to take anything away from any of them. You know, and people who are EJ detractors will be quick to say, well, it was again preseason and they're not game planning. Well, Tyrod had the same success against defenses that aren't game planning, against, you know, some first string, some second string. You can't give it to one and take it away from the other. You have to be equal with everybody. And these quarterbacks have, you know, they've come through. They've come through, and I didn't think they would. I was so far, you know, guardedly optimistic, very guarded. They've all played well, like I've stated before, and I don't think any of us, to a man, if we had to bet the house or the farm, we would have said, well, all three guys are going to play well, and you know, they're all going to make the roster. We thought, just as it started to play out, you know, given who all the guys were, what we knew of them then, you know, Tyler, Taylor being the enigma, you know, EJ falling out of favor, you know, the embattled former first-round pick, Castle, the veteran journeyman who has been relegated to backup status the last few years, was injured, and a crossroads in his career. So it was like, I think that it's not as bad as it was purported to be, or we made it out to be so far. You know, let's get into the regular season and see them playing with a full deck. You know, them getting the game plan and them having the, you know, the full workload on their shoulders in terms of preparing and being able to practice with a certain set number of guys as opposed to the 90. It's been really it's nice to see. It's really nice to see. Coaching obviously does matter, and it looks like the team, particularly on offense, is playing a lot more loose, a lot more fun. There looks like there's more rhythm. There's more just alacrity there. There's more get up and go, as opposed to the last regime. And it was very easy to knock them. There was just a lot of confusion all the time. There was a lot of what's going on. Like, what do we do here? What do we do there? There was never a clear, concise vision of what was going on. So here, I think it's obviously clear. You know, Roman's the play caller, Lee's the quarterback coach, and that's just what's going on. Defensively, Rex calls the plays. Thurman helps him put the plan together, obviously, and that's how it is. But you know, and then getting back to the defense with the secondary, you know, Gilmore went out of the game. He had a shoulder stinger, and looked like his neck initially got hit, you know, pretty good. He got clear of a concussion, which is good, because that can shelve you up for 2 weeks. And remember, a couple of years back, he had that wrist that was really, really tough for the Bills to play without for 5 to 6 weeks. And then he had the big club, as we all remember, especially with McKelvin out. You know, Darby struggled a little bit. He had a better game against Cleveland, but you know, he's going up against a really good receiver. And he's going to be going up against good receivers every week, and it's baptism by fire. But he's going to have to play. You know, defense in the NFL is going to have to field 3 and 4 corners at a time, and they're going to have to be able to be competent if they want to succeed and win. So he's going to have to, get used to it. He's going to see a lot of balls thrown his way. And if they have to move Graham back to corner in a pinch, if he doesn't perform, and Duke can slide back it to the starting safety, that's an option too. Otherwise, I feel like the defense, once it gets a clear vision of what it's doing and starting the game plan, I think will be business as usual. But it's going to be interesting 15th season for sure, Bills fans. I want to hear what you think, your comments, your feedback. I still think that Castle's going to end up starting. And we're going to see a lot of Tyrod. I don't, and I think EJ is going to make the roster. I really do. I think, given what Rex has gone through at quarterback, almost during his whole time there, where it was, after it was Sanchez and Brunell, but Sanchez really started to fall off. In his first year, they had Kellen Clemens on the roster too, and then they just had Brunell and Sanchez, and then the whole Tebow and Sanchez thing, and Sims was on the roster. No, I'm sorry, not Sims. It was Greg McElroy, and then Sims was there with Geno. Sanchez got hurt, in that preseason game with his shoulder, and then last year it was Geno and Sims and Vic. He's gone through a lot. And there was a lot of whether it was injuries or whether it was poor play, and now the Bills have gone through a lot. God, the last 2 years, we're looking at preseason games where quarterbacks were hurt, and the Bills are picking up, Thad Lewis and Carson Palmer Jordan Palmer last year, and then Kyle Orton at the end of the preseason. So your backup quarterback has to just learn the offense and learn everything on the fly at the last minute. And all the other quarterbacks get cut, and they keep Toole, put him on the practice squad. But the year prior, Toole starting the last preseason game, and then it was Matt Leinart, and then Thad Lewis, and then I think even in that season that Matt Flynn was signed at some point, and they're bringing Dennis Dixon after Cobb was hurt, and EJ was hurt. It's just been, I just think they want to be like, okay, we have our 3. They all know the offense. They're going to continue to learn and develop all the little intricacies and nuances. We'll just, for right now, this is where we are, and we're going to stay. If one guy gets hurt, Castle's coming off a serious foot injury. Tyrod Taylor's a running quarterback. He gets hit, goes down for a couple of weeks. There's EJ, who has NFL experience, knows the offense, has repped with the team. It's better safe than sorry, because we've been pretty damn sorry for a long time at quarterback. All right, Bills fans, it's a hot one here in North New Jersey. It's a humid, hot one. It's like almost 11 at night. It's like almost 90 degrees with humidity. But you guys have a good one. Take care. Football is right around the corner. Cannot wait. Even yesterday, watching the game, I don't know if you guys felt it the way I did. It felt like sort of like, here we go. It's getting to that, you're sitting down watching a game feel, and it feels really, really good. It's such a big part of our lives. You get that juice flowing. You just, it gives you something you just really can't find anywhere else. And I can't wait. I look forward to it year round, and when it comes, I just savor each game, each moment. So, all right, guys, you have a good week. Sunday night, so you have a good week. Let's get to Thursday, get out healthy, happy, and whole, and let's see what that 53 looks like. And I'll definitely be doing a video on that. So you guys have a good one, and take care. And thanks for watching, subscribing. Whether you agree, disagree, it's all good. I appreciate it, because it's feedback, it's it's interaction. I'm not here to piss anybody off, but I'm gonna state my opinion and stick by them. And when I'm wrong, I'm gonna say I'm wrong. like EJ, he's improved. He has, and I have to own what I said about moving on from him, and I was wrong. But anyway, guys, you have a good one and take care.